viaduct, but they're rebuilding the viaduct and soon it will be closed. Look on the right hand side, this is the big shopping mall. This is the main entrance called West End. Because when the train station, the western train station of Mr. Gustav Eiffel was opened, the town was much smaller than today. So it was already the western edge of the town. So that's why they call the West End. And that was the first and the biggest Western style shopping mall after the fall of the communists. 400 shops are here, the second Hilton hotel here, a lot of restaurants, a lot of attractions, musicians on the roof terrace, they open their concerts, hot air balloon, car races and so on. So on the weekend this is like an entertainment center for the local families. You know, you don't need to spend money to be entertained by the clowns, by the street musicians. You can go to one of the 20 multiplex cinemas here, or try about 30 different kind of restaurant in the and you know, this is the internet generation who use the gadgets every step. They were born with the gadget and they go to sleep with the gadget, and their physical exercise is more or less moving their fingers on the little gadget. For example, my younger son is a so-called admin of an internet society. He has already 3,000 followers. I don't know anybody, but he's so proud and so popular. I didn't know that. Every step we walk with him, he will be greeted by completely foreign people in the street. So this is the wonder of the internet. To the left. Maybe he will join us tonight for this lovely dinner. And look on the right hand side, you can see the train station here. There was a project of the previous government that it would move the parliament and the ministries and the chancellery here, because it would be, the operation will cost much less money, and they would like to save those big beautiful palaces which are now housing the ministries in the downtown. They were calculating that it's wonderful to heal, first of all, rheumatism related problems, rehabilitation, nervous system failures and so on. They are the best specialists of this film. The doctors are here. This section on the right hand side is the sanatorium. They give you different therapy sorts: physical therapy, chemical therapy, special massage and so on. And it's a wonderful building, opened in 1921. And the other part beside the sanitary is an enormous swimming pool, so even the healthy people love it. And the swimming pools, outdoor swimming pools, are still being used. And the water, of course, will be mixed. It's not, you cannot get boiled, so you can go swimming there, but it's very pleasant. The temperature is very pleasant, even in the winter time, in the biggest snowfall. Even our seniors love it to come here to swim outdoor in the winter time when it's biting cold. You know, we have a lot of snowfall. because of the mess. Those remember this man, John Kennedy, for the first time the Turkish invasion. But not later on. The Turks came back. They were too strong, and Hungary fell under the Turks. Only with the one exception of one region, which for you is known by Count Dracula. This is Transylvania, which is now part of Romania, but in the 17th, 18th century was an independent dukedom, and they could afford to pay enough taxes for the Turks to stay independent and not invaded. So that was the only independent country with a mixed population, because there were Germans, Romanians, and Hungarians living there. And the rulers of Transylvania tried to liberate the rest of the country. So they are the great freedom fighters. Let's go a little bit further to that building. Built in the 1890s. Don't forget, it was the time of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Here princes and counts and barons lived in the private palaces, relatives of the Habsburgs. Franz Joseph inaugurated the oldest underground in 1896. Look down to the right. You see by the yellow bars, one can go downstairs to the subterranean station of the old underground or old subway, which is still in operation. Of course, not with horsepower anymore like at the beginning. It's modernized, was extended after the Second World War, but it's still in operation. This is so-called yellow line. There are 4 lines of the underground. Every line has a color, and this is the yellow line, or the first line. If you want to come back to the spa from your hotel in the afternoon, you may use this yellow line from the Octagon, which is a roundabout not far from your hotel, in walking distance. And from the vending machine you can buy tickets, but these Hungarian vending machines do not take big banknotes, and they do not take credit cards. So you must have exact change, metal coins. 350 forint is one ride, and 350 back. So 700 forint you must have in cash and in coins. Otherwise you are in trouble, because they wouldn't give you. And you have to stamp before you boarding the car. That's also very important. But even if you have the ticket but you have forgotten to punch the ticket, it's not valid. And you can get a control inspector who would give you a very high punishment. So this is a Champs-Élysées. Actually, it's named after a politician whom you could have seen in the Sissi film yesterday, Count Julius Andrassy. His palace was here, and if you look to the right hand side, you can see the number 60, and next to it, look to the right, Pamalo, you can see a gray colored, black gray building. Look at the portraits on the wall. The people are standing here. It's a terrible building. It was a Nazi headquarters and the communist secret police. They spied everyone. Look, a piece of the Berlin Wall. Symbolically, that's a present from the Berlin municipality, because Hungarians were helping the Germans to go to freedom before the fall of the Berlin Wall, opening the border of Hungary via Austria. Many East Germans were fleeing via Hungary and Austria to West Germany. So the Germans are very thankful for the Hungarians for this political help. Entertainment center. In the Rolling 20s, there are a lot of nightclubs, concert halls, theaters, cabarets, flow show places were opened here. This on the left-hand side, you see Parisi used to be the first department store in 1898 with the first escalator. And there was a sensation, the fried ice cream. Isn't that crazy? Fried and ice cream. What my grandfather was talking about, when he was a kid, he bought the fried ice cream. They put the ice cream, there was a coating, and they put for seconds in a high temperature oven. So it really was outside hot, but inside cold. So that was a great sensation. And this street on the 1600 spectators. It's a very gorgeous building, decorated very richly by the greatest masters of the 19th century. They have guided tours at 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the afternoon in English. If somebody is interested, that it's also not far from your hotel. Actually, you can walk here as well. Now, this part of the avenue is slowly getting back to this glamour. The more and more, a little bit more upscale shops and ateliers are appearing here that it used to be before the war, but unfortunately the communist regime put to an end, and they confiscated the palaces from the rich owners. They have been imprisoned or killed, or they had to emigrate, and they have given those beautiful palaces to careless poor people who didn't care too much about the beauty and the maintenance. They couldn't even do that. So the buildings with the time got dilapidated, ran down, and only after the fall of the communists they started a very slow process of re-privatization, which is still underway, not yet finished. But after all, despite the fact that not every building is renovated, the UNESCO put under the protection this whole avenue and put to the list of the World Heritage Sites, at least on the Danube for sure. See the big lion symbolizing the royal power, and this film come up very often as a background for many film shooters, film regissers. In many Hollywood productions you see this film, and this is one of the symbols of Budapest, because that was the first link, the first connection, Buda and Pest. Before that, Buda and Pest were independent cities. They had two, each of them had their own Lord Mayor. There were no bridges, just a ferry boat was connecting the two parts of the city. But with the construction of the first bridge, later on they could have been joined together. And since that time, in 1873, when they joined together, they got a new name, the joint name Budapest. Look on the left-hand side, you can see the mighty complex of the former Hungarian royal palace with the green dome. Well, there are quite a few palaces are mentioned after the Mongol-Tatar invasion. As early as in the 13th century, the first fortress was built here. You do not see the fortress because it was destroyed later. Just the ruins underneath this Baroque palace. You can visit them if you come up this afternoon. That's another tip. You know, I'm just giving you some tips what to make in the afternoon. If you walk over this bridge, which is a great pleasure, a very famous bridge, the chain bridge, you can take a funicular from this side of the bridge up to the royal palace. The funicular was also an English invention. Originally in 1861, it's operated with steam engine, and the first goal was it to deliver food to the kitchen of the royal palace and beverages. It was bombed down during the Second World War.
Oh, hello. Вон там Пешт на той стороне. А это Будда. Ань, ты будешь?
Конечно, буду. Очень интересная Будда.
Окей.
Попросить, чтобы нас с тобой вдвоем сфотографировали.
It will be lovely to have you with us, everybody. Big picture. So let's stand here. Maybe the gentleman
The great synagogue of Budapest. This is a Jewish section of the city. I'm just going around and around. You see, that used to be a ghetto during the war. The Budapest ghetto, don't mix it with Warsaw ghetto. That's just another ghetto. Well, we're going now. This is a great synagogue of Budapest. That's it. Going straight. That's the synagogue itself. Beautiful, unbelievable. Unfucking believable.
You can buy tickets for the concerts from 5 p.m. at the ticket office. And it's going to be a
Going straight a little more.
yes.
Сейчас иду вперед. Там сделаем это. Вот еще вот так вот. Almost there.
Altre domande? Ok. Allora, prima della seconda guerra mondiale in Ungheria vissero circa 750.000 re, di cui 200.000 abitavano a Budapest, era la terza più grande città ebraica in Europa dopo quella Polonia e Germania. Durante l'Olocausto sono morti 600.000 ungheresi e un decimo del numero totale di 6 milioni. Anzitutto l'Olocausto in Ungheria durava per 10 minuti. Dopo l'Olocausto dappertutto in Europa molti ebrei sono andati da vivere in Israele. Adesso in tutta Ungheria vivono circa 310.000 ebrei, di cui 80.000 abitanti.
And there is the second stage. If you finish this 8 classes, then the so-called gymnasium starts, or secondary school. It's normally 4 years, but it is not compulsory. And in the state secondary schools, the education is free, but you have to be good. They select, there is an entry exam, and also depending how good his remarks were, there is a selectation. They have to pass an entry exam, and not everybody will be taken. You know, they select who is the best will be taken. But everything else beside the education is not free. So for the books you have to pay, for the dormitory you have to pay, for everything else, for the excursions and so on. They have also school physicians who examine regularly the children if they have some problems. The dentist also checking them. This is also included, but as I mentioned, we have to pay a certain fee every year. And
what is the healthcare system?
the healthcare system is not free either, so everybody has to pay. But depending on the social status, you know, some people pay a minimum for the basic healthcare, but they have to pay. Only those people from the very low classes who cannot afford, homeless people, so they get the so-called first aid help. If they got into the hospital, they get a free treatment. Otherwise, everybody has to pay for himself. If somebody is employed by a company, then he has to pay a certain amount, the smaller amount, and the bigger amount of the cost will be paid by his employee, by his employer. Please help yourself, Greg.
You're fabulous. Say no to everything.
Getting a little, okay?
That's what you've been
Mhm.
I have. I've been looking forward to that. No women in the band.
That's it, because that's too heavy to pass.
How can they get away with that? How much is moved into
Hi.
North Carolina now?
How's your goulash? What can you say about it?
That would be nothing in Brighton. Where you from?
It's really something. It's unusual. Everybody's eating, having a good time.
How's that taste of that yellow? Thank you. What happened? What happened to us?
We say goodbye to Budapest. Опять чувство такое, как будто опять побывал в Европе. Смотрю на эти фото, не могу просто оторваться. Настолько это все интересно было. Как же нам повезло тогда, что мы попали в такую чудесную поездку. Сейчас просто пересматриваю это с огромным удовольствием во время коронавируса. А что делать?